Hey YouTube, Brian LCS. Thanks for stopping by the channel and another Comic Book Community 411. And my special guest is PSN Greenhulkster. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So before we jump into the questions, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself or your channel or a little intro?
Uh, my channel's pretty old, but mostly because exclusively back then it was just gaming. So it was just a fun thing, It wasn't really meant to grow or anything. And then all of a sudden, I thought, oh, let me get back into comic books. It's been a while, but yeah, it's just a mix of things, just comic books and games now. But I'm just happy to be here. I love the comic book community. This is a whole new thing for me.
Cool. Yeah, I think I first discovered you. I think you had sent Rob Fat Stacks and AOK. I think that's the first time I remember hearing your name, or maybe seeing you in one of his chats. And you sent him a very. Now I think you've sent him two times now, right? Two very generous AOKs, and I think that's when I first, um, kind of found your channel and then subscribed to your channel. So, um, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's definitely.
he just had the third one,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
I sent another one out, but it's not for Rob, it's for somebody else.
Okay.
But you should see that pop up pretty soon.
All right, good. Looking forward to it. All right. So, why don't we jump into the question? Well, actually, before we do, in the description, if you're not familiar with PSN, his link to his YouTube channel is there and Instagram. So, if you want to go follow him and check him out, he's got some content up on his channel, and I've seen him. I've seen you a couple different places now, popping up on some other channels. So, good to see you get being involved in the community. So how did you first get into comic book collecting?
Uh, well, let's just say my oldest brother, whose name is also Brian.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, he's a big collector of comic books and action figures for a long time. So, and me, I was into gaming at the age of 8, so that's when I started gaming. And then right into my teens, I see my brother always got these long boxes of comic books, and then for a while he had them on the wall, and then he had these action figures on the wall of Star Wars. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then that's when I was into it. And then life happens, high school, college, and you just forget all about it. And then just recently, I just started getting back into it. 90s comics was my thing. I really love the 90s. The 2099 stuff, the shiny covers. Um, so you could say I just got back into the hobby about 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the '90s foil. It was definitely tough to beat some of those
Yeah.
shiny covers. So then, how did you make the leap to? All right, you're back into collecting, and what made you start? I mean, I know you said you had a YouTube channel and were doing some gaming on it, but then what made you kind of shift towards comic books and starting to produce comic book related content?
Believe it or not, I mean, I love comic books in general, but I started diving back into it just because I'd be watching Rob, I'd be watching Breakfast with Brian. Every morning I'm like, you know what, this is pretty cool. Watching it over again, and then it just triggered. It got me back into it, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. And I've always been a Incredible Hulk fan since I was a child, so you know, uh, that's where really the root was the Hulk, and so I try to collect everything the Hulk now.
Okay. Were you a fan of the Lou Ferrigno Hulk series that was on
Oh
TV?
yeah,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah. I was fortunate enough to meet him at a Comic Con in 2016.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I
Yeah, I
got a
know
few things. I got a few things signed by him.
that's great. I know he's done some recent signings. I see him popping up at different shows, or I've seen him at a few like comic shops as well too. Around the United States where he's doing signings and things. So, and it pretty much seems like I mean, all the posts and stories that I've read seem like he's very, very nice to meet, and and very, sign anything, and the fans really seem to enjoy his
He's very
appearances.
he's very down to earth. He's very cool. He just got this positive vibe. He's a very welcoming type of person. And I remember shaking his hand. This was in 2016. I don't know how old I was, but I shook his hand, and all I could see was my thumb. That's it. His hand swallowed my hand, and all I saw was my little thumb. That was it. I mean, this guy's huge, 6'5",
Yeah.
250 pounds. So,
Yeah, I mean, no CGI for his show, right? Just throw some green
yep,
body paint on him, and he was the Hulk.
pretty much. I mean, that's. I mean, I'm a big fan of Lou for a long time because he's the only one that kind of stayed in shape his whole life, his whole career, compared to Arnold.
Yeah, yeah, no, right. I mean, he's Lou Ferrigno's got to be like in his 60s, I think now, and I've seen recent pictures of him, and he still looks like he was, when he was on the show in the 80s. So he
Yeah,
really
he's
looks like
still
he's still in great shape. So. All right. So if you next question is if you had creative control over a character, a comic book, or maybe even a TV show, if you could reboot it or do something differently, who would you tackle?
I mean, my favorite is Incredible Hulk, right? But if I want something to be done right, uh, I would have to go back with Wolverine. I would do Wolverine right, and people might laugh at it, people might not, because I would pick someone who's actually 5'3".
Okay.
That's his actual height in the comics. But then I think over the past decade, they stretched him out to be a tall person.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I thought that. I mean, the portrayal that Hugh Jackman I never really considered his height, but that's right. He's he does have a smaller stature in the comics, but I mean, I thought Hugh Jackman's portrayal, the acting piece of it was done really well.
Oh yeah, his acting's phenomenal. No doubt, no question there. And he got pretty ripped for the role. Because you got to think about it. I mean, Wolverine is all adrenaline. That's part of his mutant ability. Like he's full adrenaline 100% of the time. He has pheromones going out crazy. That's why every girl falls in love with him in the comic books. He's just raging beast. So basically, he's as buff as the Beast, but in a small package, like 5'3". So
Right.
it'd be impossible to find someone those kind of
Yeah, he's
stats at
condensed.
that
Yeah.
height. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's like I said. I thought Jackman really did a good job, and I'm excited to see him come back in Deadpool 3. Um, to see him reprise the role. So, but they're probably definitely going to have to make a transition at some point if they bring the X-Men and the mutants into the MCU, that they're going to have to find a younger actor or maybe a different body type, like you said, maybe somebody who's shorter, more compact for the
I
role.
mean,
So
I don't think anybody's gonna let that happen. But if they were gonna pick somebody, I already got somebody in mind, and I think Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son, would be perfect for the role.
okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting pick. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see the Deadpool, and see where that leads with Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but then I think they're going to have to go with a younger, potentially obviously younger cast for the X-Men to be able to move
Yeah,
forward with them in the MCU. So I
yeah.
guess only time will tell. So. All right. Next question is: what is one thing that you dislike or don't dislike in either comic book collecting or in the community? Something that maybe is a negative for you.
Comic book collecting. I guess what really grinds my gears is when you buy a nice set of comics and you see them, they're nice, and then you receive them all beat up because someone didn't properly package them. You know, there's a lot of people who sell on eBay, but then there's people who they're not collectors. They're just selling comic books to make money. They don't know anything about the actual hobby, and because of that, they don't know how to properly package them. So when you receive it, you got $100 worth comic book, and then it's $25 now because it's all crimpled up.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't packed properly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've sold on eBay for a little bit, for a couple of years. I mean, I've had an eBay account probably for 20 years. Sold, if there's something I was going to get rid of, I'd say, well, can I sell that on eBay before I kind of throw it away? But I recently sold some comic books. In the last couple of years, I was selling comic books. And that was one of the first things when I started listing comic books, was my concern being a collector saying, well, how am I going to properly ship these? And I actually came to YouTube to look up information on how to ship. I wasn't aware of like Gemini mailers, so I discovered those, and there's some other videos that people show how you can, use like a cardboard sandwich and
Yeah.
bubble wrap and be able to protect the comic. But I was concerned that, all right, I'm going to ship this, like you said, $100 book, and it gets damaged in the mail, and now the person may want to return it and things like that. So there is a bunch of information on YouTube on how to do that. It's just, I think there, like you said, there's so many people that think, they hear about comic books and they think every comic book is worth a lot of money, but then they don't know how to ship it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think we've seen the horror stories. I know, some of the community members. I think even Rob Fatstacks has had some stories where he's opened stuff up and it's been damaged and shipping because of in improperly packing and so yeah, that's unfortunate. So
Yeah. It's a lot of horror stories out there, including
yeah.
on my channel too. So
All right. So those were the four questions, the four standard questions that I always ask everybody. The next two are going to be random. So the first random question will be something I come up with, and then the last question will be a random question that we pull from a list. But
yep.
my random question for you is: I know you like to draw. I've seen some of your artwork on Instagram, and I think you're coming up on a episode of Between the Lines with Roscoe and TM Nerdy.
Yeah.
So my random question for you is, do you have a favorite? Well, I guess it's kind of like two questions. What's your favorite thing to draw? And do you have a favorite, medium, pencil, digital? What's your medium of choice to when you draw?
Favorite thing to draw would be hmm. Over the years, I've experimented with all kinds of things. I mean, black ink is my to go to for medium now. I used to do pencil, and I tried to do paint. Paint did not work out so well, and then watercolors didn't work either. I didn't have patience for it. But ink now I just do all the time, even with mistakes. I try to fix it at the same time while I'm scribbling away. But to draw mostly, I guess it would be what's the word? Maybe macabre.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. Just wish I had an example to show you, but like a eyeball dripping. Just crazy stuff like that.
Okay.
It's just easy. That stuff comes easy, but if you want me to draw like Storm or some kind of female character, forget it. I can't draw the curves.
Yeah, anatomy's tough. I mean, I don't do much drawing these days, but I did as a kid and like through high school. I took a lot of art classes, and I'd always want to draw superheroes, right? Spider Man, Batman, but I could never have the patience and the enough skill to really get the anatomy, the muscles and everything right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, sometimes going a little abstract might be better. Um, and when you say ink, are you just using like just a regular ballpoint pen, or do you
It
use
can, it
markers
can
or
range. It can range from a regular ballpoint pen like
Mhm.
this
Yeah, regular Bic? Yeah.
to a high grade professional fine tip or fine point like a 0.5 millimeter type of deal like that. So it ranges.
Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a skill to that, right? With shading and using an ink pen.
Yeah, because
Um,
you want to the main goal of any drawing is to make it pop out of the page. You want it to have that 3D depth, and in order to achieve that, you have to have shading. And if you can't get the shading right from dark to light, it's not going to pop at all. It's just going to blend and be flat.
right, right.
That's the hard
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. No, I remember back from my art class days, shading, learning shading and gradient and using pencil or even um, it's like is it pastel, like the marker, like the
Yeah,
chalk
you can use pastel chalks. You can use charcoal. A lot of people use charcoal because it just shades
charcoal, right? Yeah,
itself,
yeah, that's what
basically.
I was looking for. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. All right, yeah. So looking forward to seeing you on Roscoe's channel or with TM and Between the Lines. That's a fun show just to see what the guest and Roscoe comes up with, and then a lot of the at home editions where people are drawing from the audience. It's just it's I'm surprised that I guess maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but there are so many really good artists within the community as well that are just people that you don't realize draw, and then they show end up doing something and sending it in, and it's you know it's a pretty we've got a pretty talented group on a lot of different levels. So
yeah. I mean, I wish my art was better, but it's like anything else. If you don't practice it, you lose it. And I stopped drawing for like a gap of 5 years, and that kind of threw me back. So I'd start all over again.
oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I had to pick it all up, and hopefully I can keep improving. I mean, hey, if I had to choose a job, it'd be awesome to just do comic book covers all day. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, and we definitely have. There's a lot of opportunity out there with covers, right? We have so many books that have so many variant covers these days that
Yeah,
they're definitely keeping artists busy, doing cover work for sure. So
yeah. Mine will probably be the black and white ones.
well, they're nice. Some of the negative space in that covers are really nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to our totally random questions. So I have a list of 50 questions. So give me a number 1 through 50, and wherever we land.
Let's go with 50.
50. What parent? So what parent are you closest with, mom or dad?
Mm, that's tough, man. Because it's kind of shifted. Growing up, I was really close to my mom, and as I got older, I became more close to my father. So it's a little different. It kind of changed in stage as I grew older. So right now, my dad.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely can relate, right? I think most sons are, attached to their mother growing up. Mom takes care of everything typically, right?
Yeah,
Dad's, working and doing those type of things. But then I think as you get older, you know, kind of shift more towards your dad because as you grow up and go through things, you relate more to maybe what he was going through
yeah,
when he
exactly.
was, raising you. So yeah, definitely can see a shift in the dynamic. I won't ask you who your favorite is, but um, but yeah. So all right, so that was it. You've made it through all of the questions. That was pretty straightforward. Um, Before we wrap up, anything else that you want to mention about your channel or things you have coming up? I know we talked a little bit offline and you were saying, yeah, you're trying to kind of find your way with your channel and your content. Um,
Yeah,
but like I said, I've seen you a few times. I saw you on like Remy's Place. I saw you with Alan and Beckerman, kind of refereeing their mystery box, which I thought was
yeah,
fun. That was fun to see. And then like I said, I know you've got the Between the Lines episode coming up soon. So just
yeah.
anything.
The only thing that's coming up right now would be, I guess, is it Tuesday? I don't know. I get on that cranky. Uh,
Oh, the cranky comic chat with
yeah,
Taylor and
get off my lawn, yeah, type of deal.
yeah, yeah,
Get on
yeah,
there
yeah.
every once in a while. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah,
That's the only thing I have. That and the between the lines. That's it. That's coming up right now. But like I said, I'm trying to work on setting up some content, and then I need to set up a schedule, and it's just real hard juggling stuff right now.
yeah, yeah. No, it's tough. You gotta kind of, I know when I first started my channel that it takes a little while to kind of figure it out, find your groove of your own channel and producing content. Because if you're not picking up books regularly or buying mystery boxes or things like that, you got to kind of figure out, well, what can I do to produce content. But I guess the good thing is that there's so many live streams out there that you have the ability to jump in or just hang out in the chat and connect with the rest of the community. So that's not a bad thing either. So
Yeah, I try to get around.
yeah, no, I've seen you in the chats. You were hanging out breakfast with Brian this morning. So yeah, good stuff. So um, yeah. All right. So I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, links are down below for both YouTube and IG. So if you're not familiar with PSN Greenhulkster, go check him out. Go, give him a follow, and you'll see him, around hanging out with some of the other community members. Definitely check out Between the Lines. That should be a good. Interested to see what you guys pick for your drawing for that episode. That'll be fun. So. But yeah, unless you've got anything else, we'll wrap up. I appreciate you coming on.
No, it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you so
All
much.
right, thanks. Yeah, good to get to know you a little bit better, and thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you next episode. Take care.